crowd. I kind of like this. Pretty new to the role, I'll be honest. I only took on the MD's role 3 weeks ago, but I've been CEO for 5 months here at Rox. Big turnaround story we've been working through. And yeah, my first presentation ever in a crowd with 600 people, so I appreciate it. But who's Rox? We're an emerging gold developer. We're in central Western Australia. We've got a really high grade asset. There's lots of gold in the ground, huge amount of exploration upside. We've released a pretty compelling PFS in July last year. Strong financials, very low cost. DFS is well and truly underway. Growth program, while the DFS is happening, we're stuck into that. A lot of drilling happening. Getting ready for dewatering. We're very well funded. Did a $27 million placement in November last year at 14 cents. Today's share price is 33.5 cents. And we had a lot of really good support from large institutions and high net worths join us on that. We have a binding agreement for an asset sale for some non-core tenements sitting out to the west. And about 3 weeks ago, we refreshed the board, and I've also been rebuilding the management team, which the key part, everybody in our board and our management team has also been behind the construction of a mine site. On the corporate overview side, we've got 608 million shares on issue, market cap about $204 million today. Largest shareholder is Hawke's Point over in the UK. Q Gold is another large holder. They're a large holder of Venus, so by association they hold 19.2%. And then institutions, that number's a little bit higher. We've only just had the tracing come back today, but it's around the 11% now. Hawke's Point, they're really an involved investor. They're right behind this project, and they get involved on the ground level as well. So Scott Marsh, our geologist, comes to the site and does a lot of work with us. Analyst coverage, Canaccord Genuity in Australia, Euroz Hartley in Australia. Spot price analysis from those two is 56 cents and 48 cents respectively. Again, against today's 33.5. When we look at the chart down the bottom, in July last year, that's when the PFS came out. It didn't really get much market attention. Juniors in Australia have really only started to get the money coming in around August, September last year. I signed the contract in September. You can see the big volume line and a dip there. I started in the middle of October where we got a large jump when a few institutions joined us. We did the raise pretty quickly after that, early November. January, volume jumps came in there. We put a company update out. Mid-February was first drill results and my first public presentation, followed by last week. We had a conference there. Fantastic turnout, 85 institutions in Australia, and a lot of our market buying came out of that one. So the team itself, our board, 4 of us on there. Steve Dennis's been our chair for 9 years. He's a great person in there for the corporate governance, commercial sides of it all. Myself, I'm a mining engineer. My last 11.5 years was inside of the West Gold House. Very recently listed on the TSX after the merger with Rox Resources. But we rebuilt that company back in 2022. I left middle of last year at a $3 billion market cap. Dave Boyd, he joined our board 3 weeks ago. He's a geologist. He's ex-Barrick. He was an exploration manager there. Found assets, developed assets. Nathan Stoitis, he's a metallurgist. He's a director of a company called Extreme Metallurgy. In Australia, he's known as Mr. Metallurgy. He's the most respected met in the country. And for us, having someone like him on the board with the metallurgy challenges which are perceived on the project has been a big kick up for us. Management team-wise, most of these guys have all come in recently. Oliver Keane, I brought him as my GM. Under West Gold, he started 2 mines for me. Prior to that, he started King of the Hills for Red 5 as the mine manager, Andy Wilfadore as the mine manager. Dan Marchese, 17 years doing mining studies and feasibility works. He's been with us for the last 2 years. Prior to that, Northern Star Mining Plus. Greg Hoskins, he joined as CFO a few weeks ago. He was in OreCorp. He did the debt package for that, the equity, prior to being taken out by Perseus. Before that, he was in Base, where he financed a lot of operations into production. And Andy Shaw-Stewart, experienced exploration manager. He's come and hit the ground running. About 6 weeks after he started, I put 5 rigs in front of him and told him to get busy. Where is the project? We're in central Western Australia, in the Yilgarn Gold Craton. To the east of us, you've got the Kalgoorlie Gold Belt. To the west of us, you've got the Ramelius assets, you've got the West Gold assets. All multi-million ounce mines and multi-million ounce producers. A lot of unexplored ground in this region, and you see where we sit. There's not much around us, but there's a huge amount of gold there. Historical production, 670,000 ounces, a bit under 5.5 grams a tonne. Hasn't been in production since the late 90s. Since then, it's been a combination of Chinese hands, other large companies which went bankrupt for other reasons. Then I went to a shell company before Rox got a farming agreement with it a few years ago, and 2 years ago we took out the 100% ownership. And it's really in that last 4 years overall where this project started to advance. In terms of the PFS, we've got 2.3 million ounces in a resource base at 4.4 grams a tonne. That was out in January last year, and we've done a lot of drilling since. The reserves, 550,000 ounces at 4.4, and the delivered mine plan is 850,000 ounces at 4.5. So there's a big gap in there, and a lot of drilling's been done again to close that one out. Overall, circa 8-year mine life, a bit over 100,000 ounces a year. Good met recoveries in the mid-90s, low to mid-90s, and that's based on 750,000 tonne per annum plant. And the comment next to it is really important. We do see that as getting a lot bigger. The target at the moment is a 1 to 1.2 million tonne plant, so looking at a 30 to 40% uplift. Low cost, high margin. Today's gold price in Australia has just been ticking on $4,800. Our all-in sustaining cost is sitting around $1,700. These costs were all derived in May to June last year. The underground mining costs were from the major contractors. The processing plant cost was from Macquarie Equip as a Tier 3 study. So we're pretty confident there's not much which has changed on that front at this point in time. When you plug in today's spot, you're starting to get over $2 billion Australian cash flow for the project, over $1.3 billion on the NPV, and a, what's the number I'm looking for? 1.2 year payback. So we're getting some pretty attractive terms, and we're getting a lot of banks involved at the moment. When I was looking around for an opportunity next year, one of the big things for me is where's the next big high grade underground asset? In Western Australia, there were a couple of mines which stood out to me, but from work I'd looked at previously, Rox really stood at the top, and the key was the top 300 vertical metres of this ore body averages 4,600 ounces of vertical metre. It still sits around 4 for the next 100, and it drops off down to around 2,000 ounces of vertical metre. It's a pretty strong, highly mineralised ore corridor, and this is over a 1.2 kilometre window. You look into that picture, those light blue areas, particularly near Helland and UME, between there, that hasn't got many drill holes, or didn't have many drill holes in it. So the grades have to get smeared, and the result, it goes quite low. Everywhere it's white, there's no drilling, nothing at all. The pink, it's greater than 5 grams a tonne. In terms of the reserves and the mine plan, you can see on the screen there, this is what we've got planned in currently. 8-year mine life, pretty much. In the middle, the UME main, there's an old decline that goes just below 600 metres from surface. That will get stripped out once we do the pumping, and that'll be the backbone for the central operation. We'll put a decline out to the left of the image in United North, and then to the right of the image into Pollard. The current mine plan is based on mining UME main, United North, so the 2 left sections, and then UME Deeps and Pollard. We want to turn that around because Pollard is extremely high grade, UME Deep's extremely high grade. If we can bring those forwards, we'll really change the production profile. So once the PFS came out last year, the key thing was getting more conversion. So again, 550,000 ounce reserve, 850,000 ounce mine plan. 11 kilometres of infill drilling was done on that project. Fantastic results came out of it, and one thing which has stood out to us is the ounces from that program, well, from the resource on that basis, are going to go up. And we also start to understand where the high grade plunges are in this ore body. When you have a look over at the United North, we've got 30 metres at 20 grams a tonne sitting over there. That was our first real indication on where one of the true high grade zones are. We've also then started recently working back through the rest of the ore bodies, doing a lot of structural mapping in the core, and start mapping these out. So we're seeing there is a lot more of these. In general, the ore body is 2 to 4 metres wide, 4 or 5 grams a tonne, but where you get these intersecting structures, we're getting blowouts 12, 15 metres wide, anywhere up to ounce dirt. Since that one's done, post the recap of the business, we embarked on a 35,000 metre growth program. It's not a traditional exploration program where we're just poking holes out, looking for how far down to the bottom of the earth does this go. UME main, our deepest hole is 900 metres, and it's around 4 metres at 10 grams. We know the systems are continuous. But what it was is really getting an understanding of what this mill is going to be. How big can we make it sustainably? How big is the ore system? So all the holes, they start about 40 metres away from the known mineralisation. Every hole we're putting into this project that hits gold will make it to the resource and make it to the reserve. So again, this 35,000 metres, the 11,000 metres of infill, that's 46 kilometres of extra drilling. It's going to hit the MRE this year. Regional projects, we've got 62 kilometres of strike down the main UME shear zone. In that, Rox Resources have got that very high grade penny mine. That's made hundreds of millions of dollars for them over the last 18 months, coming toward its end of life, pending drilling. And it sits off the same structure that your main sits off as well. They're all off splays, off this shear zone. If we go and find something like that, it's another game changer. We've got 700 metres from our mine back to the shear, which hasn't been touched. Penny, for example, sits right against the shear. We've got targets there. Those blue dots you can see on the left image, that's a few of the semi-advanced targets. The main one's Currans, drilled to start last year. Fantastic results out of it, all RC drilling. We're going to back that up with some diamond holes in the coming weeks. Pathway to production, we released this November last year. One thing against a lot of the developers at the moment is we've actually committed to what we're trying to do. It's drilling, we're funded to do that throughout the year. Growing the MRE. So our cut-off for the MRE is middle of April. That's the key 35-kilometre drill program. That'll give us a resource update coming out around the end of June, start of July this year. That'll go into the mine plan, into the DFS, which is due in November. Network, comminution flotation, well and truly completed. Albium test work's underway. So again, we have got sulphides. 95% of our gold is contained in sulphides. Of that, 80% is in pyrite, 20% is in the arsenopyrite. The pyrite's easily liberated by an ultra-fine grind, and the arsenopyrite, it needs a partial oxidation process. So we'll run a conventional crushing grinding. We'll go into a flotation. That'll give a mass pull of about 10%. So based on a million tonne mill, you're only talking 100,000 tonnes requirement to then go into the ultra-fine grind. Pretty small. The albium, high speed oxygen going to a tank, low pH, that'll start a reaction of oxidation, crack the surface of the arsenopyrite, cyanide can then deal with the rest of it. Initial work for that will come out in July. Again, it's been proven the tech works. This is just finalising designs. Design work will be putting out contracts shortly for the TSF designs, processing plan and geotechnical. No issues expected there, timeframes all seem in line. Environmental works, we've got an environment manager who's working on the mining proposals now. We're on fully granted mining leases in the middle of Western Australia, so it's all on M's, not expecting any issues. Historically, there was a mill there, there's existing tailings dams, waste dumps, a camp, heavily disturbed ground. Early dewatering, right into that now. We have extensive evaporation ponds which have been refurbished over the last month. Pipe works on site, crews will be on site end of this month and hopefully pumping by the middle of April with a target to have the decline positions exposed by around about September, and then there's potential early works that might come out of that. Met test work, a couple of pretty pictures. Left side's the rougher cells, right side's the cleaner cells. What we found is we've got a really clean concentrate as it was. There's no point putting the cleaners in there, so that will save a bit of capital. Dewatering, a couple of images of the ponds. The bottom edge of those ponds is about 1 kilometre long for a bit of scale, and that's reference to the airstrip which sits there. 2 million cubes of water to come out. Half that'll go into those ponds. Another fair chunk will go some pits up to the north, which we're waiting on permits now. And we'll put some irrigation over the rest of the site to deal with the rest. Comes to where we are today. I can say I'm close on time. Finished the drill program, again, 35,000 metres, really focusing on what we're going to grow. All of these holes are growth holes. That'll go into the MRE due into June with an extra 46 kilometres of data. Progressive DFS, met test work, permitting, financing, well advanced on that. We'll be announcing a debt advisor in mid-April, and again DFS late in the year, FID targeting January for construction. Dewatering, keep pushing on that front. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programmes at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.